The Bold and the Beautiful, Murder in the Rain, Deacon, Taylor, Luna, and a night that changes everything. Il Giardino had seen its share of whispered confessions, stolen glances, and secret deals over the years. But nothing prepared it, or anyone in Los Angeles, for what happened on the storm-soaked night that would send shockwaves through the Forrester family and the entire city. At the center of it all, a deadly betrayal, a hidden truth, and a murder that no one saw coming. In the eye of the storm stood Deacon Sharp, Taylor Hayes, Luna Nozawa, and lurking just beyond the light, Sheila Carter. It all started with a secret, a devastating, hidden truth that Luna had buried deep, one connected to her true parentage and a past mistake that directly impacted the Forrester family. Somehow, Deacon got wind of it, whether through a misplaced document, a slip of the tongue, or Luna herself, pressured and crumbling under guilt. The truth came to light. And once Deacon knew, he couldn't keep it in. The revelation was too big. The implications too wide, especially with the Forresters already cracking from the fallout of Luna's pregnancy, Lee's betrayal, and Will's public breakdown. But instead of confronting Luna or the Forresters head-on, Deacon did something unusual. He confided in Taylor Hayes. At first, it was just a drink. Then a conversation. Then a soul-bearing moment in the quiet alley behind Il Giardino. Deacon didn't expect Taylor to listen. He didn't expect her to understand. But she did. They both knew what it felt like to live with guilt, to carry scars invisible to the world. And in that moment, when Deacon's voice cracked from the weight of the secret, Taylor wrapped her arms around him in a gesture that was as much about strength as it was about sorrow. And Sheila Carter saw everything. From the shadows, her phone's camera clicked softly, capturing the embrace that wasn't romantic but could be twisted to look like it was. Sheila didn't blink. Her eyes narrowed, her mind already spinning the angles. She wasn't just documenting Deacon and Taylor, she was setting a trap. The Queen of Chaos had seen Deacon slipping away from her grip. His connection to Taylor, however brief, was a threat. A soft place to land for a man Sheila believed belonged to her. That moment behind Il Giardino gave her the spark. The murder gave her the fire. Later that night the rain came down harder. The streets glistened. The parking lot behind Il Giardino emptied, the last of the guests gone. Taylor was alone, walking to her car. The echo of heels on wet pavement. A flash of movement. A shadow breaking through the dark. And then, a knife plunging into her back. Again. And again. She didn't scream. There wasn't time. She collapsed against the hood of a car. Her blood blending with the rainwater rushing toward the storm drain. By the time Thomas arrived, having received a vague, troubling text from his mother, it was too late. He found her crumpled, lifeless, soaked to the bone. He dropped to his knees, pulled her into his arms, and screamed into the night. But her pulse was already fading, too far gone to pull back. The ambulance came. The sirens cut through the storm. And with it, came Deacon's name. Because he was the last person seen with Taylor. Because he had been alone with her. Because Sheila had already begun whispering into ears, planting photos, fueling suspicions. The embrace behind the restaurant, framed as something illicit. A falling out. A fight, maybe. An argument turned deadly. And suddenly, Deacon wasn't just grieving, he was suspect number one. The LAPD arrived fast. Questioning began. Deacon, reeling, barely understood the accusations. He swore he left Taylor alive, that they hugged and parted on good terms. But the world didn't want his version. They wanted blood. The media latched on instantly. Taylor Hayes murdered. Deacon Sharp last seen with victim. The story exploded. But Sheila didn't stop there. She returned to the scene hours later, gloves on, hoodie up. The police had cleared the lot but missed something crucial. A white silk handkerchief left under the back wheel of a nearby car. Sheila placed it there. Carefully. Quietly. She'd sprayed it with a floral perfume that Luna had worn weeks earlier at Forrester Creations. Spring Gala. Not her current scent, but unmistakably hers to those who remembered. By morning, a rookie cop found the handkerchief. Bagged it. Logged it. And suddenly, Luna Nozawa, already drowning in scandal from her pregnancy, paternity controversy, and fractured relationship with Lee, was a new thread in the investigation. The scent was circumstantial, the placement suspect. But the implication? Devastating. Why would Luna be at Il Giardino that night? Why would her perfume be at the murder scene? What was she hiding? The Forrester family splintered again. Ridge, already grappling with the weight of Taylor's death, lost all composure. He stormed into the police station demanding answers. Thomas refused to leave the morgue, eyes bloodshot, refusing to speak to anyone. Steffi collapsed when she heard. Brooke tried to hold the family together, but her voice couldn't carry over the screams. Deacon, meanwhile, sat in an interrogation room for hours. He recounted the evening again and again. The secret, The hug, the goodbye, but every word he spoke, every tear he shed, was countered by the cold photos Sheila had anonymously submitted. Deacon and Taylor, holding each other, alone. Late at night, the community turned on him. Even Hope, torn and terrified, struggled to defend her father. Part of her believed him. Part of her feared that something had snapped inside him. Her voice shook every time she spoke. She didn't know what to believe anymore. Carter, caught between defending Hope and protecting his legal integrity, offered cautious support but kept his distance. Liam, watching from the sidelines, began asking his own questions. But someone knew. Luna knew, because Deacon's secret, her secret, was real. And it wasn't just a scandal about her identity. It was something bigger. Something tied to the Forresters. Something worth killing for. And now, with her scent planted at a murder scene and the walls closing in, Luna realized the truth. Someone was framing her. She confronted Deacon, shaking, pale, eyes wide with terror. He denied everything. Swore he didn't say a word to anyone but Taylor. Luna begged him to help her clear her name. But Deacon was in no position to help anyone, not when the city wanted his head on a platter. And behind it all, Sheila watched. Smiling, pulling the strings. She'd done it. She'd turned Deacon into a pariah. She'd dragged Luna into a web of suspicion. And she'd silenced Taylor forever. But she didn't count on Thomas. Because Thomas Forrester, broken as he was, began to notice things others missed. The positioning of the wounds. The lack of defensive injuries. The angle of the knife. He'd studied crime scenes before. He'd investigated when others doubted him. And something about the scene felt off. Too clean. Too convenient. And that handkerchief? It was pristine. Not wet from the rain. Not crushed under a tire. Planted. He knew it, but he had no proof. Not yet. As Thomas begins his own investigation, Sheila's clock is ticking. Deacon, locked up but not yet charged, feels the walls closing in. Luna tries to avoid the press while digging into her own past. Desperate to understand who might want her silenced or ruined. And the Forresters prepare to bury Taylor. Not just as a matriarch, but as a victim of a twisted game they haven't even begun to understand. Behind it all, Sheila continues to smile. Because the night rain washed away the blood. But not the chaos. And chaos is just the beginning. The bold and the beautiful, blood, memory, and manipulation. Taylor survives. Sheila schemes. And a love triangle heats up a single heartbeat. That's how close Taylor Hayes came to death. But fate, stubborn and unpredictable, kept her alive. Stabbed in the rain, bleeding out in the empty parking lot behind Il Giardino. Taylor's life nearly slipped through her fingers. But emergency surgery saved her, though not without cost. When she woke up, surrounded by machines, doctors, and the shattered faces of her children, it was clear something was wrong. Taylor couldn't remember anything. Not the knife. Not the attacker. Not the moment her world went dark. Just silence. A void. A blank slate. Short-term memory loss. Trauma-induced. Selective. That's what the doctors said. She remembered her children, her past, her career, but the hours leading up to the attack, and the attack itself, were gone. Scrubbed clean. She tried. God, she tried. But every time she reached into that space in her mind, all she got was the sound of rain. And Sheila Carter saw an opportunity. With Taylor defenseless, her mind fractured, Sheila moved swiftly. No dramatic entrances. No schemes with guns or threats. This time, she played the long game. The benevolent ghost. A phantom helper. Someone Taylor would never suspect. Late at night, long after visiting hours, Sheila crept through the hospital's back corridors. Face partially concealed beneath a nurse's mask and cap. She slipped into Taylor's room and placed a small gift basket at the foot of the bed. Organic teas, soft lotions, a vintage psychology book. Nestled between the items was a simple card. No name, just 3 words, typed in soft gray ink, "You are loved." It worked. The next morning, when Taylor woke and saw the basket, she was touched. She smiled. Her voice cracked as she told the nurse how kind someone had been. Thomas and Steffi assumed it came from a fan, maybe a former patient. Deacon, who had been sitting vigil by her bed nearly every night, found it suspicious, but said nothing. He didn't want to be the cynic. Not when Taylor was smiling for the first time in days. But he was right to worry. Sheila didn't stop with one gift. Over the following week, more items appeared. A shawl in her favorite color. A mixed CD of piano instrumentals she once told Ridge helped her sleep. Always with a card. Always unsigned. Always subtle. The pattern was clear. Sheila was slowly weaving herself into Taylor's emotional space. Feeding warmth and kindness into her recovery. All while remaining invisible. She wasn't just manipulating Taylor, she was rewriting her. While the psychological assault played out in shadows, Deacon Sharp stayed at Taylor's side. Out of guilt, out of care, out of something deeper he couldn't quite name. He'd been the last person with her before the attack, and though he knew he had nothing to do with it, he couldn't escape the responsibility. He told her stories, made her laugh, brought her soup, he helped her walk again, watched as the bandages came off, and kept her steady as nightmares crept into her sleep. Somewhere between the tears and the therapy, the boundary between friendship and love began to blur. Deacon didn't plan for it. Taylor didn't expect it, but trauma binds people and the gentleness they shared became something deeper. One night, after a long conversation about forgiveness, Taylor reached for his hand. He held it, and didn't let go. Across town, Thomas Forrester was doing the opposite of healing. He was unraveling. The image of his mother's blood on his hands haunted every moment. And the mystery, the lack of answers, gnawed at him. He didn't trust the police to solve it. He didn't trust anyone but himself. So he took matters into his own hands. He started with the traffic cameras. That night, he mapped out every intersection within a 5-block radius of Il Giardino. He pulled footage, called in favors, even bribed a technician to fast-track the footage analysis. Then he requested phone records, geolocation pings, from everyone who had been in the area that night. Staff, family, customers, even Deacon and Luna. No one was off limits. Hours turned into days. His obsession grew. Steffi begged him to rest. Rich tried to reassure him that justice would come. But Thomas refused to stop. He kept scrubbing footage, frame by frame, second by second. Then, a flicker. It lasted less than a second. Barely perceptible, but it was there. A glint, a flash of movement, a hand lunging forward in grainy, pixelated black and white. Not a face, not a full body, just a hand. But on that hand, a nail, unmistakably sharp, long, and lacquered in blood-red polish. Thomas froze the frame, enhanced it, blew it up. It was blurry, almost worthless in court. But he knew what he was seeing. Sheila Carter's signature nail color. For years, Sheila had worn the same garish red. It was her signature, her vanity, her calling card. Thomas's eyes burned as he stared at the monitor. He didn't breathe, didn't blink, because this was it, the first real link between Sheila and the attack on Taylor. He printed the frame, drove it straight to Ridge's office, slammed it on the table. She did it, Thomas said, voice shaking. She stabbed Mom. Ridge stared at the image. His face hardened. Then he picked up his phone and made a single call to Finn. Meanwhile, Sheila was already preparing her next move. She'd heard whispers that Thomas was sniffing too close. She knew Deacon was spending more time with Taylor than she liked. She needed to tighten her grip. The next basket she left at the hospital included a silk scarf, embroidered with Taylor's initials, and a card with one chilling sentence. Sometimes the heart sees what the eyes can't remember. It worked again. Taylor was moved to tears. But Deacon was growing suspicious. He noticed the cardstock, the handwriting, the scent on the scarf, one he'd smelled on Sheila before. Slowly, the pieces began to fall into place. He didn't want to believe it. Not again. But when he confronted Taylor about the gifts, she brushed it off. They make me feel safe, she said. It's the one part of this whole thing that feels good. That night, Deacon left the hospital early. Drove straight to Sheila's apartment. He didn't knock. He burst in. Stop it, he hissed. Whatever you're doing to her, stop. Now. Sheila didn't deny it. She smiled. She's happy, Deacon. For once, she's not in pain. Let her have that. Deacon's fist slammed the wall. You tried to kill her. Sheila stepped closer. But she doesn't remember that. And if you keep pushing, maybe she never has to. Deacon left, sick to his stomach. Across town, Thomas and Finn teamed up to confront the police. The blurry image wasn't enough to arrest Sheila, but it was enough to reopen the case. To reclassify the attack as an attempted homicide with probable cause. Investigators returned to Il Giardino. Re-examined security footage. Questioned staff again. And this time, someone remembered something. A woman matching Sheila's height slipping out the back door minutes after Taylor was found. The net was tightening, but so was the emotional triangle forming around Taylor. Sheila continued her anonymous campaign of affection. Deacon, torn between love and guilt, remained by Taylor's side. And Taylor, caught in a fog of recovery and gratitude, began to see Deacon as more than a friend. One night, she kissed him. And he didn't pull away. Now, the truth threatens to destroy all three. Because when Taylor's memory returns, and it won't just bring back the face of her attacker. It will tear apart the illusion, the healing, the trust, and when she remembers that Sheila Carter drove a knife into her back, and Deacon kept that woman near her, there will be no forgiveness. Only fire, only fallout, and a reckoning that will shake the bold and the beautiful to its core.
Oh,